Okay, guys, I know it's been a couple of days and life just got really hectic. As far as I just been busy, so I haven't been able to come back and go over Project 2025 with you guys, but we are here today. So we're going to make sure that we get this done. We're only on promise number one, so we have a little bit of a ways to go. And as you can see, or as you probably already know, the president is already, or former president has already been shot at, and so there's a lot going on in the media. So I'm going to try to catch us up. Now, I'm only going to be here for an hour tops because, again, life is busy and I would like to get some sleep. So let me go ahead and start my timer now so that we can go ahead and get into the things of the things. Now, let me see here. Let me share my screen because, like I said, a lot has been going on. And we want to definitely get into Project 2025. I've been trying to tell people about this. Some people don't believe that it's an actual thing. Some people are just refusing to read it, and I'm only can assume that it's because people just really don't to terms with these things. They're really trying to put these things like into fruition, and some of this stuff has already started, and you're probably not even paying attention. But some of this stuff has already started, and I'm not talking about just with this year, but even some of the things I've started with even the last couple years. Um, I'm just letting y'all know this is what they're trying to make the new norm. If you agree with it, you agree with it. If you don't, you don't. But this is what is being done. Now hold on here. Why is this here? Okay. Yeah, can you like move this out of the way? Oh gosh. Hold on, guys. We're on technically we're on page 37 here of the PDF. So let's get back there first. Okay, so promise number one. Okay, promise number one is a to restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. This is what they're saying. I don't know why this is here and it will not go away. I don't even know how it got here in the first place. Um, okay, because we're not going to be highlighting anything. Just don't pay attention to that. But follow along with me. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to give my thoughts on it. It says the next conservative president must get to work pursuing the true priority of politics, the well-being of the American family. In many ways, the entire point of centralizing political power is to subvert the family. Okay. Its purpose is to replace people's natural loves and loyalties with unnatural ones. You see, this in a popular left wing. What in the world? What is going on with my computer? Please stop it. Oh, this is annoying. This is annoying. Please stop. Is there something on my screen? Okay, back to it. In many ways, the entire point of centralizing political power is to subvert the family. Its purpose is to replace people's natural loves and loyalties with unnatural ones. You see this in the popular left wing aphorism: government is simply the name we give to the things we choose to do together. But in real life, most of these things people do together have nothing to do with government. These are the mediating institutions that serve as the building blocks of any healthy society: marriage, family, work, church, school, volunteering. The name real people give to the things we do together is community, not government. Our lives are full of interwoven, overlapping communities, and our individual and collective happiness depends upon them. But the most important community in each of our lives and the life of the nation is the family. Today, the family is in crisis. 40% of all our children are born to unmarried mothers, including more than 70% of black children. There is no government program that can replace the hole. And it, are you serious right now? There is no government program that can replace the hole in a child's soul cut out by the absence of a father. Fatherlessness is one of the principal sources of American poverty, crime, mental illness, teen suicide, substance abuse, rejection of the church, and high school dropouts. So many of the problems government programs are designed to solve but can't are ultimately problems created by the crisis of marriage and families. The world has never seen a thriving, healthy, free, and prosperous society where most children grow up without their married parents. If current trends continue, we are heading toward social implosion. Furthermore, the next conservative president must understand that using government alone to respond to symptoms of the family crisis is a dead end. Federal power must instead be wielded to reverse the crisis and rescue America's kids from familial breakdowns. The conservative promise includes dozens of specific policies to accomplish this existential task. Some are obvious and long standing goals, like eliminating marriage penalties in federal welfare programs and a tax code and installing work requirements for food stamps. But we must go further. It's time for policymakers to elevate family authority, formation, and cohesion as their top priority and even use government power, including through the tax code, to restore the American family. Today, the left is threatening a tax exempt status of churches and charities that reject progressivism. This will soon turn to Christian schools and clubs with the same totalitarian intent. The next conservative president must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. This starts with deleting the terms of sexual orientation and gender identity, which is also known as SOGI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights, and any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights out of every federal rule, agency, regulation, contract, grant, regulation, and piece of legislation that exists. Pornography, manifested today, is an omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children. For instance, it is not is for instance, it's not a political Gordian knot inextricably binding us disparate claims about free speech, property rights, sexual liberation, and what child welfare. Is there no claim to First Amendment protection? Oh, it has no claim to Amendment protection. Its purveyors are child predators and misogynistic exploiters of women. Their product is as addictive as any illicit drug and as psychologically destructive as any crime. Pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be in prison. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed. I don't know what's going on my computer. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders, and the telecommunications and technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered. In our schools, the question of parental authority over the children's education is a simple one. Schools serve parents, not the other way around. That is, of course, the best argument for universal school choice, a goal all conservatives and conservative presidents must pursue. But even before we achieve that long-term goal, parents' rights for their children's primary educators should be non-negotiable in American schools. States, cities, and counties, school boards, union bosses, principals, and teachers who disagree should be immediately cut off from their federal funds. The noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should be exercised from curricula in every public school in the country. These theories poison our children who are being taught on the one hand, to affirm that the color of their skin fundamentally determines their identity and even their moral status, while on the other, they are taught to deny the very creatureliness that inheres in being human and consistent in accepting the forgiveness the giveness of our nature as men and women. Givenness. Okay. Allowing parents to or physicians to reassign the sex of a minor child is child abuse and must end. For public institutions to use taxpayer dollars to declare the superiority or inferiority of certain races, sexes, and religions is a violation of the Constitution and civil rights laws and cannot be tolerated by any government anywhere in the country. But the pro family promises expressed in this book and central to the next conservative president's agenda must go further than the traditional narrow definition of family issues. Every threat to family stability must be confronted. This resolve should color each of our policies. Consider our approach to big tech. The worst of these companies The worst of these companies prey on children, like drug dealers, to get them addicted to their mobile apps. Many Silicon Valley executives famously don't let their own kids have smartphones. They nevertheless make billions of dollars addicting other people's children to theirs. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms are specifically designed to create the digital dependencies that fuel mental illness and anxiety to fray children's bonds with their parents and siblings. Federal policy cannot allow this industrial scale child abuse to continue. Finally, conservatives should gratefully celebrate the greatest pro family win in a generation, overturning Roe versus Wade, a decision that for 5 decades made a mockery of our Constitution and facilitated the deaths of tens of millions of unborn children. But the Dobbs decision is just the beginning. Conservatives in this state and in Washington, including in the next conservative administration, should push as hard as possible to protect the unborn in every jurisdiction in America. In particular, the next conservative president should work with Congress to enact the most robust protections for the unborn that Congress will support while deploying existing federal powers to protect innocent life and vigorously comply with statutory bans on the federal funding of abortion. Conservatives should ardently pursue these pro life and pro family policies while recognizing that the many women who find themselves in immensely difficult and often tragic situations and the heroism of every choice to become a mother. Alternative options to abortion, especially adoption, should receive federal and state support. In summary, the next president has a moral responsibility to lead the nation into restoring a culture of life in America again. Okay, now that took a little piece. Um, let me see here. Okay, so in this particular section, this is promise number one. This is they're saying that they want to restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect the children. Okay, sounds good. All that sounds great, right? It says they're trying to break it down and say that this is the government's or the next president has to work on and make a priority, right, of basically trying to restore the well-being of the American family. But my issue that I'm having with this is the fact that some of the things that they're saying that is the breakdown of the family, or they're trying to blame as the breakdown of the family, I feel it's just it's far-fetched. Honestly, I do feel like it's some of this is far-fetched. It's really a reach, and it just there really is no basis to some of the things that they're saying. Okay. First of all, the verbiage in which they use it's definitely very misleading by calling some people's loves natural and saying that replace the natural loves with the unnatural loves. No one has done anything. People have always been themselves. Okay. Yeah. At one point in time, You have the alternative lifestyles, as so many people have liked to call it in the past, where there were laws that were going against that and people were not allowed to be themselves. But when you put people in situations like that, then they have to live lies. And when people live lies, that's actually not fair to the people who are really living in their truths. So allowing other people to live in their truth, allowing everyone to live in their truths is definitely going to be something that is best for the American people and for any people around the world, because of the simple fact that they don't have to walk around lying. Look how many people have gotten. Um, Look how many people are no longer living today because they were not able to walk in their truths and to live in their truths. I do not think that that is anything that is concerning as far as with the children. Um, Sorry, in most cases, as far as with the alternative lifestyles, there are children in the homes, but in most cases they're not children in the homes. I don't We don't see people just actively going out and trying to say, hey kid, look at me while I hold my partner's hand, or don't, look at me while I make out in public or anything of that sort. So I think that that point is this is void. To me it's stupid. It's a really far reach, and it has nothing to do with restoring the family. Basically what you're trying to say is that if you don't have a family the way that we feel you should have a family, then we should come up with a law to outlaw that. Okay. We want to use the government to rule how it is that you live your life, as far as what you do in your personal time. What do you do? What you do, when you're in your four walls of your house. And I feel like that's a little bit too much. Um, and anybody that feels that they should be able to govern what's going on in someone else's house, whatever's going on in someone else's car, whatever's going on in someone else's bedroom, I feel like that's a little bit too far. You should maybe hang out in your room, hang out in your house, hang out in your area, and mind your own business. Ultimately, is what I'm trying to say. Now, the fact that they wanted to point out that 70% of black children are in unmarried are born to unmarried mothers. I'd have to really look up that statistic. I think that's a far reach as well. I grew up in a two-parent household myself, and I was that black child, and so was my sister, that black child, and we grew up in a two-parent household. I don't know, I can't speak for but a lot of children who I knew, who were their parents were friends of my parents, or they just knew them. They went to school with me and everything like that, and they grew up in two-parent households as well. Now, am I saying that there were no single mothers or single fathers out there? Yes, there were. Of course, there were, and I do realize that that is something that we more commonly hear about, and it's a thing. I do understand it's a thing, but to outline only the black community, I feel like, first of all, that's pinpointing the black community out as if there are no other cultures here, as if this is only a black and white thing. There are Asians here, there are other Europeans here, there are Africans here, there are people from the Caribbean here, there are people from South America here, there are Canadians here. I mean, there's Australians here, there's people from all the continents that are in America. So to only um, try to single out the black people, I feel like that within itself is just doing a little bit too much. Yeah, a little bit too much, because I feel like that's not fair. Um, and to me, it's just crazy to keep perpetuating that rumor of that all of the black people are just growing up in fatherless homes, and none of our fathers are there. That's a lie. My father was there. I mean, my mother and father were married for 25 plus years before my mother passed away. And so, yeah, I think that people really need to wake up and see what it is that's what's being said about this. And so, and like I said, I know plenty other black people who also came up in two-parent households as well. Now, uh, you know, to me, this further perpetuates the fact that the lie that black people make up the majority of the welfare system. And To be honest with you, that is just really not true. Um, if you look up the statistics on the welfare system as far as who all is receiving government assistance, food stamps, and etc., you will actually see that the white population actually takes up more of that than the black population does. Now, does a lot of the black population use it? Yes, there are a lot of black people who use it, but there are also a lot of brown people who use it. There are also a lot of other people who use it. There are Asian people who use it. There's other cultures who use it as well. So to make it seem like this is a black problem, and the black people are the reason that um, all these government programs and things are happening or are running dry, to me, that is a bold faced lie, to be honest with you. And in most cases, people are out here doing other stuff. So, I mean, I just feel like that is a little bit too much for me. Like one particular people set of people is creating a problem, and that for some reason you feel like you need to use the government and use politics to try to basically make it harder, by saying you're going to make it harder basically for people to get any type of government assistance. And to me, by you pointing out black people, you're saying that, in my opinion, that you're going to try to make it harder for black people to do this by basically making it harder for them to take care of their families. But in the same sentence, you're also, or not in the same sentence, but in the same breath, you're also trying to say that you're basically going to try to force people to get married. You're going to try to force people to stay together. Um, you're going to try to force people to have their children because you don't want any type of abortions. So yeah, we'll see how that really works out for them. Now, there's another something I wanted to mention in here. Um, I mean, they're even talking about using the tax code to help implement some of this stuff, which is crazy. Now we're gonna get into the transgender. I know the transgenders are sitting over like, how did I get into this argument, and what do I have to do with any of this? Just trying to live their life, but once again, a far reach. I think it's a far reach, and I also feel like that is unfair for them to try to pinpoint those people as a problem, because they feel like they because these people, these conservative these types of conservatives feel that that it's something that shouldn't happen. As far as transgender children, I don't hear any parents out here trying to change the sex of their children just for fun. I haven't heard of anything going down like that. So to put it out there as if parents are signing paperwork for their, as far as transgender on the because they're really referring to genitalia. Let's be clear, they're not talking about the boy that puts on some nail polish, or the girl that likes to wear basketball shorts. They're talking about gender, like changing their gender, and as far as the sexual reconstruction. And there aren't any kids out here. As far as I know, you have to be an adult to make that decision. And as far as I know, the children are not actually doing that. So I think we should stop pretending there. As far as pornography, again, now understanding why children are being, or why this is in the children's section or in the family section. And the reason I say that is because yes, I understand that teenagers will look up pornography and things of that such. However, all of those pornography, all of those programs on the websites and things of that nature make it very clear that you're supposed to be 18 or older, which that gets away from it being a child situation. um, Now, is there a way that they can um, maybe beef it up a little bit to make sure that a person is 18 or older, which would make them an adult and not a child? I'm pretty sure there is. I mean, and I'm pretty sure there's something that they have to try to check for identity or check for age. Maybe they, I don't know. I'm assuming none of it's really free, or not much of it is free. So I'm assuming they would have to put in maybe some card information or something like that so that they can actually kind of tackle that area, so where they don't have a bunch of kids just on their stuff. But let's be clear, teenagers especially, they're going to they're going to be curious, and they're going to go out and look for stuff. And a lot of these homes do not talk about sexual stuff, as far as sexual health and things of that nature, how to be clean, how to stay clean, how to, STIs and things of that nature. So, these kids are possibly going out and looking on the internet, for to try to see talk about these things, or have answer questions that they have, that they feel like they may not be able to go to their parents or other family members and friends to ask, and they go out and they look on their own. But I do not, as far as the sexualization of children in pornography, um, there's only one type of people, and I'm not going to say the name, the pedos, but those are only type of people that look into the sexualization of children. The average American is not, or the average person is not doing that, and I don't think the average child is running around looking for sexualization of children either when it comes to pornography. So I don't think, me personally, I just don't think that should go into this section. Um, what trips me out is about this is that um, they're saying that certain things should not be um, protected under the First Amendment. The things that they feel should not be, and then they are saying that other things should be under the First Amendment. So, like, you feel like the First Amendment should protect the fact that you want to insult people, certain people, but then you feel like what their interests are, whatever the case may be, should not be under the First Amendment, and I think, or protected under the First Amendment. And I feel like that's such a contradiction. So I feel like some of this stuff that they're saying, it's just a really big contradiction. um yeah, I just feel like that I feel like this is a reach, and I feel like some of these topics, we shouldn't even be discussing uh in in this section. I just feel like it has nothing to do with family. I feel like it's just something that people, like, they're trying to throw out there and make it a family issue, when in actuality most of this stuff has nothing to do with family, but it has everything to do with just adults in general. And the thing about it is, most people, especially nowadays, let me say this, like back in the day, when, you know and by back in the day, I mean, the 50s, the 60s, 70s even, people were getting out of school. There were a lot of them weren't going to college. Some of them were, but a lot of them weren't. And so a lot of people were getting married early. Um, and they were having children early, and they were going out and they were working. And that worked for some people, and I'm not ashamed of that. Um, well, and I wouldn't say ashamed, that's not the right word. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing for people to be ashamed of, when they if they decided to do that, or if that's something that they wanted to do. Nowadays, especially, I would say, from the 90s and above, people have furthered their educations in a lot of ways. A lot of people get out, they go to tech schools, they go to colleges, they go, to different trade schools, and they're furthering their education, and furthering their well, they're mostly furthering their education, so that they can get better jobs, because that's what most of our parents, uh, who happen to be baby boomers for the most part, taught us, it was to further our education. We can get a good job, nice paying job, so that we wouldn't have to necessarily have had to deal with poor blue collar work, and so that we can make something of ourselves. Now, of course, different entities have played a part in the whole situation, to be honest. And so most of us who have college degrees, or even the people, those of us who do not have college degrees, but we've gone to college for a substantial amount of time, we all, well, I'm not gonna say we all, but the majority of us have student loans that we're still trying to pay off, and we'll still, while still working poor blue collar jobs, or have a good job, you're still trying to pay off student loans, plus deal with the cost of living and inflation, and yeah, still struggling basically. So you have people who are out here making 80 to us. Things are just, they have changed. So we were pushed more, not so much of getting out of school and graduating and making a family. Those things kind of got pushed back a little bit. So people are actually having babies a little bit later in life on average. I mean, you still have those who have their babies early, and there's, again, nothing wrong with that if that's the life that you choose. However, a lot of people, a lot more than used to be, I would say, a lot of those people, may have had children a little where they were having them in their late teens, early 20s. Some people don't have their children until their mid to late 20s. Some people are choosing not to have children until their 30s. I've seen a couple of people not have children until they were right at 40 or in their 40s. So I think the dynamic of the family has changed a lot, even when it comes down to when people are 50s, 60s, and 70s and before, when people then were having children, usually at a much earlier age. So therefore, the family structure has changed in a lot of ways. Not even just with same-sex families or anything like that. Because the LGBT community does have a lot more rights than they say they used to have back in those days. Um, One, you don't have a bunch of LGBTQIA people marrying straight people or trying to pretend to be straight and live this straight life, and or bringing a bunch of children into the workplace and then turning around and kind of leaving them high and dry. You There's just not a lot of that going on. People are allowed to be themselves a little bit more, and I really feel that it has helped the situation of people having a lot of children. And I mean, look at how much we're talking about overpopulation of this country. Look at how often they, refer to an overpopulation of a city, or a state or country. And I mean, granted, people don't even live in like the whole inner city type places. Yeah, there are some inner cities filled up the entire country, but they already tell us that there's too many people and that we don't have enough resources for this and that. And, this program is going to go out and that program is going to go out. But yet you're conservative people, because I don't think that this is all conservative people with this way of thinking. But this particular set of conservative people are saying that we need to go back to basically when people were having, the reason we need to do that is what is that reason? So are we, or we're not? Because to be themselves and to live in their truths are have slowed people down when it comes to having a bunch of kids versus, you know like I like to say, back in the day, uh, where people were having an average of 4 kids or better. Some of these people got kids in the teens. Like, seriously, a lot of children, and that's a lot of mouths to feed. And honestly, it's kind of hard to extend, where it's now, some more so now people are kind of sticking around 2 and 3. Some people are having one, and a lot of people are not having any at all. So, with that being said, I'm not so sure that they're really thinking about what they're asking, um, and or what problems may choose that, yes, let's do it that way. So I'm not so sure about that. Now, they're talking about social media has its place. Now, do I think that some children and some parents alike are probably spending too much time on things like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms? Yes, absolutely. Some people are doing a little bit too much of it, and too much of anything is not a good thing, So, yes, I do feel like some people can dial it back a little bit. However, do I feel like these programs are good? Yes, I do, because it allows people like me and so many more to come on here and spread information that is going on around them, or that's taking place, just to spread that information about. We can call on TikTok and we can get information about Project 2025. Same thing for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms. We can hear about what the president is going to say without having to just turn on the television or read about it in a newspaper. Um, while those things are great, I just feel like these social media platforms, they help out with a lot of things. People and their businesses and selling products and selling information. It's technology. And I feel like the people that are trying to put this in place have really was not so big. And for whatever reason, they want us to go backwards. So I feel like this promise, overall, is just basically trying to, again, set us back 100 years, because if it just is, you want us to go back. You want us to go back into this time where people weren't, apparently, clearly not that happy, because if people were that happy, then they wouldn't have changed some of this stuff. They wouldn't have given people freedoms that didn't have freedoms once before. They wouldn't have come up with technology and advanced that technology so people can do things that they were never able to do before. Sorry if you guys, if you hear my neighbors across the street are having a birthday party and they have fireworks going off, and my dogs are not, they're not happy about it. So I do apologize for that. But yeah, if everything was so great and so wonderful and so grand, then why have we progressed more? We've progressed more because it wasn't as happy and as wonderful, as grand, as people are trying to make it out to be. We wanted more. So we got the smartphone. We wanted more, so we got rights, afforded to us. We wanted more, so we were able to do more with the things that, we had to deal with. Life is not just about getting up and going to work. You want to have fun, you want to have friends, you want to socialize. We are human beings, we're social individuals, we're social beings. And so therefore, things like social media, it helps us to reach out further than to people that are just in our backyards. And granted, anything can be used for not, evil, I guess you could say, if that's for lack of better terms. Anything can be used for evil, but it doesn't have to be. Escaping from their regular daily go to work and come home, or go to school and come home, regular mundane lives. People like to do a little bit more. And as for pornography is concerned, for the people who want to watch pornography, do pornography, whatever the case may be, that's their prerogative. If that's why to control people. And my thing is, when you're trying to control people and marry them, what right bodies, um, what social media platforms, if any, they can have, when they can talk on the phone, just all of these things that they're mentioning. Um, I feel like that's an invasion. It's a very much so an invasion. And so I feel like that the government govern something else, is basically what I'm trying to say. Govern something else, because I don't feel like that is where you like. I don't feel like that should be your focus. Maybe we should focus on some natural resources, or maybe we should focus on how to increase the number of graduates, that's coming out of high for the of worrying about whether they're on TikTok or not. Instead of worrying about whether they're watching a same-sex couple walk down the street. I think there's just more important things for 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 the government to be concerned with outside of that. And as far as parents, I feel like when it comes to parenting, let parents be parent. Let parents parent their children the way that they see fit, as long as it's not bringing any hurt or harm to those children. I do not see a reason as to why the government feels like they should step in and tell the parent how they should parent their child. As long as there's not any type of um, mental, emotional, or physical abuse going on with the children, I feel like they let them parent the way that however they see fit. I mean, my parents parented us the way they saw fit. We went to church every Sunday, we went to church every Wednesday, we went to other churches. Sometimes we went to multiple churches on those days. Sometimes we went to multiple churches. They were very strict, as far as, well, they were strict enough. They weren't overbearingly strict. They allowed us to, go play with our friends, but and have a social life. They very well did protect us. They very well sheltered us to a certain degree. Um, no, nobody was in our house, showing us porn or anything, of that nature. Um, to be honest with you, they didn't concern themselves with what other people were doing, may have been going on. Say somebody that they knew was maybe on actively on drugs or a heavy drinker or something like that, and they didn't feel like that was a safe environment. Well, they didn't go over there, and they didn't allow us to go over there. If we saw those people out and about or in public or whatever the case may be, they treated them like anybody else. But as far as in their personal space where they were doing whatever they wanted to do, we just weren't in those personal spaces. So I mean, and you know, that's what they chose to do, and I don't see anything wrong with that. And I'm sure that most other parents are not going to, or the parents that live in the way that my parents did are going to probably do the same thing for their children. I don't feel like the government. I feel like the government has enough on their plate with trying to keep us out of war. Um, so and trying to build relationships with other countries. And so I feel like if they focus more on that instead of focusing on trying to tell parents how to raise their children and what their should not be able to do, then yeah, we'll get along a lot better. Um, like I said, this country was built as a democracy, which means a lot actually. But so to try to govern down to the T, as far as even like inside what's going on inside the home, that doesn't concern any type of, like I say, mental, emotional, or physical abuse. I feel like that's a bit much. I feel like, again, these topics that they're bringing up, I feel most of them are far reaches and have honestly nothing to do with preserving the family, but has everything to do with trying to tell you that basically we don't like you, we don't like you, we don't like what you're doing, and we don't like you. So therefore, we feel like you shouldn't be covered under First Amendment, and everything that we're saying, even though it's discriminatory, um, yeah, discriminatory, is it should be covered under the First Amendment, and you should listen to us because we're right. And I don't think most of America would agree to that. I don't think most of America would appreciate that. And I think a lot of people who feel like they may appreciate that will until it's their turn to be discriminated against for something that they wanted to do. And the last thing you need is for you to yell at your kid to get off the couch from jumping on the couch, and then all of a sudden the police are at your house because you yelled at your kid. Like, you're not gonna be too happy when that happens. So I just say leave other people alone, and as long as they're not doing anything to your child, and as long as you're keeping your child safe and protected, then leave it alone. Anyways, well, that's the as far as we're gonna get today. I don't know what my computer's doing. I really can't tell you, but it's acting retarded. And yeah, so we're gonna end this video right here, and then we're gonna come back with promise number 2 on the next video. Now I'm going to try to get that second promise in. Um, I'm gonna try to get that video out as soon as possible. Okay, so I'm gonna try to do this within the next 24 hours. However, if my computer is still running this way, I may have to start just reading this and not sharing my screen, because it's, yeah, I don't know what's going on with it, but it's really acting up today, and it's like really literally doing its own thing. So thank you guys for listening to another video. Please share this video out, share out the information as well. I would love to hear what you guys think about what we went over. Share this video out as well, so some other people can join in on the conversation. And out this screen and go back over here. But yeah, definitely leave your thoughts in the comment section, because um like I said, I've been trying to tell people, there's a lot of people who are just like, they really don't believe that this is happening and don't believe that this is possible. And one thing I learned when I was in the military, that is, if it ain't right, it's trying out of states, got pregnant, why you got pregnant, or what age you were, you're gonna have to keep that baby, even if your life depends on it. And I think that's just a little bit too much. They're basically saying that, we're just not going to fund this. Not only are we not going to, but we're going to make it illegal, so that you'll end up serving jail time if you decide to go and do it anyway. So it's just a lot. It's a lot intrusive, actually. And I'm gonna say you're going to have to pay for it yourself, but it's another thing to say you got to go to jail if you do it. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys on another video. Peace.